Now we're going to do the bud, okay? We're going to do sort of that same technique. We're going to start with a 1-inch loop, but do a double crossover, and then we're going to put on the little leaves on either side of the bud. And you can see, like, if you look at this one, I made a much longer leaf. That's probably close to a 3/4 inch loop, and here's maybe a little 10-inch loop. I don't know if you can see that on this one. But it all the, you know, in nature, leaves aren't all the same size and flowers aren't all the same shape and that kind of thing. So just remember that when you're making these, they don't have to be perfect. And even if you're like, I really don't like that one, I don't like the way this one came out. Well, when I put them all together in a bunch, I just love it. I really like how the whole thing came out. Like this one, I used a whiter bead in the center. It's not my favorite. Um, this one I used a bigger yellow bead, and I actually like that better than the. So that was a 6/0 bead, and I just used an 8, and you know, maybe I like that one better than what I just made here. Okay, so even if you're like, I don't love this individual one, put them all together. They'll be great. Okay. All right, so let's look at that bud. Okay, let's make our little bud. This is even easier than the flower. Maybe I should have started with it. Essentially, we're making one petal and then twisting it to make the bud. So you need a tail wire, 6 to 8 inch tail wire, and then we need an inch of beads, give or take. Make that loop, but we want a narrow loop this time. You want to make it a little longer, that's also fine. Okay, twist that loop closed. Bring your wire up. I tend to always do it without the beads. Figure out, you know, the shape, how, if I like the shape. And then put the beads on. When I'm making petals, I always make sure that first bead fits inside the loop like that. But when I'm making a bud, sometimes I want the bead to start below there. And then I still make it go between the beads on the top and down the back side. Okay. And then I'll put one more bead. And sort of play with, like, do I need one more bead to make that loop close, or do I have one too many? Anyway, once you decide what you want, you give that a full twist. And we have the essentially one crossover petal. But now I'm just going to sort of twist it. Twist it a little bit. Now it's closed and it's a little more bud-like, shaped like a bud. Okay, I need to cut off from the spool. Again, leave over 6 inches, give or take. And we are going to make our little calyx. And I recommend, depending on how big you want the leaves, to be 3/4 of an inch to an inch in beads. So I'm going to spin on some green beads here. Oh, got a lot. Okay, so I'm going to do just a little under an inch. Put the rest back. Okay, I'm going to make a nice tight loop. Twist it closed. And then I want this to be a little bit narrower. It's still round up at the top. Okay. And now I need to do the other side. I want to get about the same amount of beads. Okay, about the same amount of beads. Spin some beads on this wire. It's almost exactly an inch. Took a bead away. Leaves in nature are not all exactly the same size, so it does not matter if our leaves are all exactly the same size. Okay, twist that close, and then shape that little leaf how you want it to. If you ever get a leaf really crunched and you want it still to be round at the top, an old school pencil is a really nice way to put that rounded shape back in, because you've got a point. You can sort of push the pencil, the sharpened pencil, to where you want that same diameter. So that's just a trick I use pretty routinely when I collapse something down too far. So the last thing, this one really doesn't even need it because I put a leaf on each side, but you can also, if you want to be extra careful, give that a twist. And then that's going to be our stem, right? So this is how I would recommend not putting the beads on the stem until we're ready to put these into bunches. And instead I'd make as many of these as you want. So if you want to make something similar to what I've shown you, about 3 to 5 of these. And again, for the flowers, you want to make, between 7 and 11 or what have you, whatever you want to do there. And if you want to make double loops instead of these crossover loops, do that.